Are you serious? Are you serious, folks? Welcome to today's broadcast. Wow, this is crazy. Leaked memo escaping out of the bowels of the Chinese military. And in the memo, it's an internal memo, but they released their plan, kind of a short-term and long-term plan. First of all, you need to know they're buying up the gold like crazy. And our guest will be Colin Plume, and he's going to help you understand why they would be buying up gold like crazy. And it's not just the Chinese, but the Russians also. And I'm going to tell you who the top 10 nations are in the world that own the most gold. Plus, what is the plan? Well, they have at least a 4-point plan to overtake the United States of America. It's not just always military muscle. You got to have more than military. You got to have the financial wherewithal, the fortitude to get it done. So let's welcome our guest. He's got all the answers from Noble Gold Investments, Colin Plume. Colin, how you doing today?
Pastor Paul, fantastic. Thanks for having me on. And that leaked memo from China. Let me ask you this question: do you think that memo was leaked on accident, or do you think that came out on purpose?
You know, it's a great question, and I actually been thinking about that, saying, how in the world could China let something leak? I'd say purpose. And if it's purpose, then it's a red herring, isn't it?
Yeah, so nothing happens by accident when it comes to China, and I can tell you that there's nothing in the military that would get leaked unless they wanted it to get leaked. So they're letting us know that they're unhappy with what's going on with the trade wars. Obviously they've been talk of almost $500 billion in tariffs being put on Chinese goods. So I think what they're doing is they're trying to subtly send a message that, we're not happy with this. We're getting prepared, and they're trying to intimidate us, is what I think is happening.
Yeah, and it's definitely deception. The thing that's really bothered me, Colin, is all these islands that they've been building out there in the Pacific Ocean, especially during the Obama administration, and we never challenged it. We never really questioned it, even hardly. I mean, what are these called? The Spratly Islands?
Yeah. Well, they've been encroaching. That's the thing that unfortunately happened over while Obama was in office, is that Obama took a very passive approach to China and Russia. And I think what it did is it allowed these countries to encroach on neighboring countries. Obviously, we saw Russia encroaching on the Ukraine and, moving their borders. China's doing the same thing. And so finally, we've had more of a stronger stance and letting the world know that we're not going to take this, and that's why we've had these negotiations with North Korea, which obviously China is not happy about. So there's a lot of rumblings going on. I think protecting our borders, protecting our allies' borders is really important. But I also think when you get into a tariff battle, the real losers, unfortunately, is people that day to day are buying goods and really can't afford substantial increases in some of the goods that they're going to be tariffing. And I think it's going to, not only is inflation at a 6-year high this year, but you factor in what these tariffs are going to do, the price of goods is going to go up pretty significantly, and that's going to hurt the economy.
So inflation in the United States is 6%. Is that what you're saying?
It's at a 6-year high. So inflation, based on what the government's reporting, hit almost 3%. We've talked about it. The real numbers, if you use energy costs and you use everything that should be factored, like when Reagan was in office, if you use that same formula, our inflation is above 9%. But so, if you factor, let's say it's somewhere in the middle, let's say it's 6 or 7, we're at a very high point with inflation. And that's the scary thing when you do these tariffs. You have normal inflation 6-7%, then the cost of other goods are going to go up substantially. A lot of the things that we buy on a day-to-day basis. So I think we're pushing the brink here, and obviously the economy is at a point where a lot of people are concerned that we're inflated, our debt is high. So these are the kind of things, the tipping points that could turn the economy in a negative direction.
And, of course, over at Noble Gold Investments, folks, they have a book out, Government Lies, Part 1. It's about inflation. It's a free book. You can get it if you go to their website. It's a free book. Isn't that right, Colin?
Absolutely, yeah. It's written by John Williams, who's an economist from Dartmouth. He lays it out in simple, math, and every month last year, inflation was above 9%. In September, it was above 10%. And those are real numbers. That's really what you're paying for goods. And I think inflation, is going to rear its ugly head soon. And it's really a silent killer if you think about what you're making if you leave money in a bank. If you're making 0.5% and you're losing 9% a month, that can be pretty devastating to anybody that's trying to plan for retirement. And that's why, we obviously recommend people looking at tangible investments. And if you look at that list that we're going to talk about of the countries that hold gold and own gold, the reason that they are buying gold, Russia and China and all these big countries, is because they're planning for the future. And they want to hold something that doesn't have any debt. If you look at most major countries in the world, really, if you look at their assets, the one asset that they hold that doesn't have any debt is gold. And so that's why they continue to buy it. They think the price is cheap. They want to get in while it's low, and they're going to continue to hoard it and put it away for the future. And I think we're going to continue to see that happen. One country that you don't see on that list is Great Britain, because they sold almost all of their gold in 2002. Is one of the biggest financial blunders by any central bank in the world, probably in the last 100 years. And that's why, you think of Great Britain, you think of the majesty of this country, and, obviously you would think they'd have a lot of gold. But they're obviously not on that list. They're well below Turkey, who's number 10. And they really ruined their economy by liquidating most of their gold in 2002, because gold and silver went through the roof after that.
Wow. I did. I noticed it when I was looking at this list. Folks, here it is. Number 1, United States, with 8,133 tons of gold. Number 2 is Germany at 3,373. So that's a huge gap between 1 and 2. I mean, this is huge.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And if you look at the U.S. has not bought any gold in the last 50 years, and so a lot of people say, well, why haven't they bought any gold? And I think the reason is because people are concerned about an audit. If we went out and started buying more gold, obviously people go, well, how much gold do we have? We'd have to audit Fort Knox and some of the other depositories. And I think the government doesn't want to do that. A lot of people believe there's not as much gold in the vaults there that they report. But there hasn't been any audits of Fort Knox since 1982. There hasn't been anybody from the public in Fort Knox since 1982. So that's why the U.S. hasn't bought any gold, coupled with the fact that, we're broke. But you see the countries that are flourishing, like China and Russia, they're buying gold in mass. They're buying tons of gold. They're socking it away because they know that it's really the only real money that's out there. Everything else is backed by nothing. All the fiat paper money, every currency is backed by nothing. And so they want to hedge their bet, if there's a collapse in any kind of the financial markets.
So looking at this list real quick, folks, Italy's number 3, France is number 4, Russia is number 5, and China's number 6. They each have around 1,800 tons of gold, and then it's Switzerland, Japan, the Netherlands, and Turkey. And the fact that Great Britain was not on this list, I was shocked. I also was shocked the Vatican's not on this list. And I'm thinking, what? So did they sell their gold also about the same time that
I don't know if they sold their gold too. I just know that they don't have as much to qualify for the list. But if you look it up, 2002, you'll be shocked at what and their finance department will say it was a huge blunder. I mean, obviously they made a big mistake by liquidating all of it, and for a number of reasons. Gold isn't just an asset that sits there like a lot of people believe. Most countries in the world, they have gold in a place and they borrow against it. It's credit. So like Germany, for instance, had their gold here since after World War II. And so they were using it as credit. They were able to get lines of credit against the gold because obviously it's an asset that people trust. and it's easy to verify. So it is a good asset in terms of that. A lot of countries use it to barter and trade with. Iran has been using gold to do trading for a number of years because they've been under sanctions. So it's a currency that people like. They like the idea of trading and receiving a currency that's going up in value as opposed to going down. Because if you sign a long-term deal and you're a country and you do it in dollars and the dollar is shrinking 9-10% every month, then you're receiving an asset that's really losing a lot of value. Whereas if you do it in gold, then you're receiving an asset that's going up in value. So it's a much better bartering instrument. And I think that as we see the dollar continue to lose power, we're going to see more people trading and bartering with gold and silver.
Now, folks, Colin Plume, we're going to talk here a second. In this leaked memo by China's military and how they're going to overtake the United States, first, I want you to know, folks, if you have a question, you can go to noblegoldinvestments.com. That's noblegoldinvestments.com. Christian company, great guys, partners with our ministry. We really appreciate them. And you can call the number. You can actually call the number 877-646-5347. There it is on the screen, 877-646-5347. They're a family-owned business, a Christian organization, and really great people, and we appreciate them greatly. Colin, this China memo, besides expanding, building all these islands that they've been doing under the Obama administration years, and they're still out there, and Trump doesn't like it, the memo that leaked said 4 objectives. Number 1, manage a crisis. Number 2, contain a conflict. Number 3, win a war. And number 4, overtake the United States. This is shocking that this is part of their agenda. I mean, I don't think we have an agenda in America, overtake China. I don't think that's on I don't think I hear that one. Do you?
No, I think, especially under our Trump, I think he's really just focused on our country. I think that's, we've had other presidents that have been focusing more on the world and less on us. And I think that's been his big attribute as a president, is he's really focusing on us and protecting our interests. So I don't think we have any interest to go to war with anybody. I don't think it, for a bottom line thinker like he is, I think he knows not only does it put people in harm's way, but it just financially doesn't make any sense. We've been paying off, the last 2 wars for a long time in Iraq and Afghanistan. So no, I don't think that's our agenda at all. And I think that it just shows that, we have to keep a strong military, number 1. We have to trade, continue to trade and barter. Obviously, we're always going to be allies pretty much with not allies, but we have to be trading partners with China because we buy each other so much of each other's goods. But I think ultimately we have to be prepared that if they're thinking in this mentality, they're concerned about things that are happening out there. They might be concerned about North Korea. Obviously, that's been one of the big reasons that China's sort of stayed out of this, is they like the way North Korea is. They don't want an ally to the U.S. or something that's happening with the U.S. and North Korea, because they're pretty close in terms of location. So I think that it's a little nerve-wracking when you see these things come out as an American and you realize that they're preparing for some kind of skirmish. It doesn't sit well with me at all.
No, and so I can understand why China would be. They don't want to see U.S. get too chummy with North Korea. I'm a little concerned, Colin, that this North Korea thing isn't going to go south on us. I mean, I've been saying that Kim Jong-un, he needs cash, and he needs cash bad. But I knew that once we got crawling around in there and start unhooking and start dismantling nukes, he's going to get cold feet. He's going to get scared, like, wait a minute. If I let this all go, I haven't seen a check yet. So don't you think there's some negotiation going on still?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that we're still negotiating. I think that we're that's going to take many, many, many years for anything to happen. I think he's trying to get a little key money, so to speak, kind of get some money up front. before he has to do anything. But he's not going to play that, and he's no fool, and that's not going to happen. So I think that meeting was great, and it kind of opened some doors and some dialogue. But I just don't think anything's going to come for a really long time.
Right. There's at least 2 years involved in this whole thing. There's no doubt about it.
Absolutely.
And we're going to keep squeezing them with the sanctions, and we're going to keep surrounding them with the military, and we're going to keep leveraging China with the tariffs. And, it's kind of like this with the tariffs. China don't buy our stuff anyway, so they can raise the tariffs as high as they want. It doesn't matter. They don't buy our stuff. But if we raise the tariffs on them, it does matter, because then Americans will start buying America. They'll buy America. They'll hire America. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, I mean, there are a few things that do affect us, like automobiles. Because we sell Fords and different things there. So those things we would get affected. But the majority, you're right. I mean, they're more affected than we are. And I think it's a negotiating ploy. So obviously they're going to try to protect their interests, and they're going to raise the cost of some of the things that we need from them. But ultimately, there'll be a middle ground. Obviously, Trump tries to go for the big number, $500 billion, and then he'll come to some kind of reality here. And hopefully the end of it is good. The only thing is that there's a reason why a lot of presidents haven't touched tariffs in a long time, is that it kind of makes the economy shaky and nervous, makes the stock market nervous. So obviously that's something that we have to keep an eye on and see how it affects the stock market. Yeah,
and we're looking at the stock market right now. Is that today's number, Brock? Okay, we're up 133 today. Here's what I noticed. This is really weird, because I predicted this wrong. I was so wrong, Colin. 8 days in a row, the stock market lost money. Trump at midnight did that midnight massacre where he said, I might just put tariffs on $500 billion on China. He actually put $34 billion. So I told everybody the night before, I said, look out, tomorrow the stock market's going to lose 300 points, maybe 500 points. It went up 150 points. And it's actually been up every day since he did the midnight tariff, the midnight madness. And I can't figure this one out unless the corporations in there have had a conversation in the back room with the Trump administration. I don't know what, because normally this would have been a tanking bad news, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, I think when you're looking where the stock market is today, so much of it is based on just confidence. If you look at the Price-Shiller Index, which takes the actual value of companies, the actual value of companies based on where they are is about half. So if you took all the assets and all the earning potential of all the companies on the stock market, it should be about half where it is. So the other half is just confidence. So obviously by him tweeting that gave U.S. people, a lot of corporations, a lot of confidence, and they were dumping more money in the stock market. But if you're looking at the fundamentals, which, that's what we look at, obviously we think that the stock market's inflated. And then once you start to see that big sell-off, that's when the numbers start to come back into reality. But it takes, it's going to take some selling off for it to hit the numbers that it should, which, the Dow should be, sitting around 12,000.
All right, now you guys are coming out with a new coin, a new Trump coin, maybe two of them. Tell us a little bit about this, silver and gold?
Yeah, we're doing both. We're going to come out with silver first. It's the Trump 2020 coin, and so it's going to be focused on, obviously the re-election that we have not too far from now. There's not a lot, but there's some out there that are promoting these types of coins. Most of them are not real gold or real silver, which is part of the reason that we wanted to release this coin, because if gold and silver go up and you have this commemorative gold-plated coin or silver-plated coin, it's not going to go up in value. Whereas with our coin, it'll go up with the price of gold and silver. So it's kind of a win-win. It's a commemorative coin, and we're really excited about it. We're going to start pre-selling it in the next week or two, and we should be able to get it out for delivery in the next 3 to 4 weeks.
There you see it on the screen, everybody. Keep America great. Trump 2020. And it's going to look just like that. And it's silver. It's 99% silver. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be a silver coin, and I think we're only doing a limited supply of them, so I think people are going to be really excited once they get it. And it's going to be something that you can give to your friends. It's for every day. It's affordable. Great coin that you can hold. And obviously, I think silver is very undervalued right now, so I think it's going to be a good purchase for the future.
And also, you're coming out with a Trump freedom coin. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it's going to be the same kind of concept coin. There's going to be two versions of it. They're going to be pretty close in concept, but yeah, they're basically kind of same kind of title, focusing on the re-election, focusing on freedom. And once I'll get the coins out to you as soon as we're going to have them about a week. I'm going to get them out to you so you can take a look at them. And but I think it's going to be exciting. And for anybody that supports Trump, supports re-election, I think it would be a great purchase. A lot of people I've been talking to are going to give them to people, friends, kind of urging them to vote and kind of vote on this side. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun for people.
Colin, as we're looking at these things, again, folks, go to his website at noblegoldinvestments.com. That's noblegoldinvestments.com. Great partners with our ministry and just a great family-owned business. You can call them also at 877-646-5347. That's 877-646-5347. So if China's goal is to overtake America, I got to ask it. President Trump has already just touched down. I think his plane just landed in Belgium. He's going to be meeting with NATO, and that's supposed to be our allies. That is our allies. But the relationship's been kind of frosty because he wants them to pay their fair share, every nation there. But I understand here's something you don't hear. There's 5 nations there that are saying, thank you, Mr. Trump. We're glad that you are doing this. But okay, so not everybody's been paying their fair share. But then he's going from there to the UK, and the foreign minister just resigned. Boris, he's the guy with the hair like Trump. He just resigned, and Theresa May might be forced out before Trump can get there. And then, by the way, after NATO, he's going to the UK to meet with the UK Parliament and with Theresa May. But the mayor of London is saying, you don't want to come here. We're going to be protesting in the streets, and blimps are going to be an overtop. My question is, look, I know they're upset about his relationship with Putin, but do you think this relationship with Putin is necessary? They're buying the gold also.
Yeah, I think we have to keep relations with all of the major countries in the world. I think you have to obviously they're, as he said, they're a competitor, because they have their own self-interest of what they want for their people. But ultimately you have to have some kind of relationship, open dialogue, because things come up. There's skirmishes in the world, and you want to be able to have a phone call and work things out. In Great Britain, they've been having a lot of problems, and obviously he's going to have to get briefed on who's going to be in charge when he gets there. But it's important to talk to NATO, because we've been footing the bill for a long time. Most of, if you go back the last, 30 years, you look at any kind of skirmishes, we're typically the country that comes to the forefront and funds a lot of these situations that we're in. And it's unfair, because a lot of times, we're getting into battles or skirmishes with countries that don't directly affect us, and we're going with our allies and funding them and helping them with troops and money. So I think what he's doing is good, and I think we need to have an open dialogue and have this discussion about having a fair place in the world.
Now, as you're talking about this and with NATO countries, and of course the UK. Now, look, this is the 2-year anniversary. UK was supposed to have Brexited by now. The people voted there. And I even predicted that they would Brexit. And I told people, if they do vote to Brexit, America will vote Trump as president, because there's a shift. There's a shift in the world order away from a global elitist or a one world type governance back to nationalism. And England was first. The UK was first. But they've not Brexited, Colin. They've had 2 years, and they can't unwind it. This could turn into a riot. This could turn into a revolt in the United Kingdom, couldn't it?
Well, the people voted for it. They were supposed to, they gave them some time to be able to put the measures in place to pass it, and they haven't. And so I understand why the people are upset. I mean, you vote for something. It's a ballot measure, and nothing happens. That's why we vote for these things. So I understand why people are upset, and hopefully it gets resolved as peacefully as possible.
Now, when Trump goes to see Putin, of course, the U.S. media is just pounding on Trump. The Mueller mess we got going on, the I call it the Trump or the Russian collusion, confusion, delusion, illusion, whatever it is. but Trump's pretty strong. He's got the fortitude. He's not afraid to go in. He'll hold his friends close, but his enemies closer, and he's looking for a way to stabilize the world, I think, in some aspects. So what do you think is going to come out of this meeting with Russia?
I don't know the exactly what the agenda is they're going to be talking about in terms of, what they're looking to accomplish. I think that when you have this investigation happening in the U.S., maybe he wants to have a meeting that they can show as being transparent, because obviously that's the big issue with this investigation. And speaking of the investigation, I don't think anything is going to come of it. They've been, looking into this for the past few years. They haven't had any kind of evidence that anything's happened, unfortunately. And so we've been wasting time basically just kind of looking under a rock, and there's really nothing there. So I think it's maybe to have a public meeting, just to kind of show the people that, we're meeting in open here, and here's the way the discussions. But until we get this thing settled here in the United States, till we get past this, it's really going to slow down a lot of the things that we're working on in this country to fix. And it's in my opinion, it's hurting the kind of democracy that we have here in this country.
I agree, and I think that's a great answer, Colin. I really do. That you got to keep stability is the key to not only to the world, but for all the economies of the world, or for all the trade, everything. You need the better stability, the better things operate. Peace, We're looking at, but of course, Syria's got to be on the table. There's no doubt about it, because nations are surrounding Israel. What about Iran? Why are they still in Syria? What about all the oil in the Middle East? I'm sure that's going to be a part of the discussion between Russia and the United States, and we'll see what happens. But all right, now, Colin, do you ever think Trump will take the United States to a gold standard? And the reason why I bring this up, the articles that are out in 2010, that's when the world switched from selling gold to buying gold. And in 2015, the last 6 months of the year 2015, more gold was purchased than ever before in history. You've been telling us that Russia and China aggressively are going after gold, but we got more than anybody. So do you see a possible gold standard, and what would that mean for our economy or the currency?
I think the world's reserve currency will eventually I think they're going to eventually go to a basket of currencies. It won't just be the dollar, and I think gold will be one of the currencies. I think that's what I think. I think it'd be hard for us to go back on the gold standard, just because, first of all, we have too much money out there, and just the reporting of it and the borrowing, I think, would be difficult. But in terms of the world, if countries could choose when they do a large transaction what currency they want to trade and barter with, I think that would give countries a lot of flexibility. A lot of the countries in the EU have wanted it. Middle East countries have wanted it. So my guess would be that when we go off this one world currency that we have with the dollar, that we'll use a basket of currencies, and that will open up the floodgates for gold trading, and I think it'll definitely help the price. Going back on a gold standard would be hard at this point, just because we have so much debt out there. I don't know how we would reconcile everything with all. I mean, we're almost $21 trillion in debt, so I don't know how we could reconcile the debt and all the money out there and put us back on a gold standard. But I could see the world's reserve currency going on some kind of basket. Maybe you got the euro, you got the dollar, you got the yuan, you got a number of currencies, and I think that gives the world more security.
That's great. Biblically, from a prophecy standpoint, we know that it would appear that the beast, which would be the New World Order, would want to have or is going to have some kind of one world currency. I have never thought of the fact that one world currency could be centered around gold. I never thought about that before until you just mentioned it a second ago. Right now, all currencies of the world are based off the U.S. dollar. That's just how it works. So this would be a global change. It'd be a change in the global order, wouldn't it?
Absolutely, and it would make sense, because now you'd be in something that has a limited supply. I mean, we have the ultimate advantage, just being able to print and print and print. And I think eventually, when is the debt too high? When do we owe too much money? When can we not print ourselves out of debt? That's really the question that will come to fruition in the future, because how can we just continue to mortgage our futures the way that we have? And I just can't see it continuing to happen. You and I can't run our household this way. I don't know how the country can. The only thing that's holding us up is faith in the currency and faith in the economy. That's it. And once that turns, once people believe that those things are not valuable, they will drop like a rock. And we've seen it happen. We are due for a correction right now. It's very unusual to have a bull market in the stock market for almost 11 years. So I do think we're going to see some kind of correction. I don't know if it's going to be, I've seen 60, 70%. I don't think we're going to see that, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a 30, 40% pullback in the stock market, which would be devastating for most people. If they look at their accounts and they saw that kind of pullback, I think that they would be more cautious. If they knew that could happen, and it definitely can, I think they'd be more cautious right now.
So people have got 401k, they're getting ready to retire. People got IRAs. Folks have just gotten their inheritances in some cases. People are watching us right now. And of you that are out there and you're saying, what do I do? Colin, what would you suggest?
They can just give us a call. You got an IRA or an old 401k. We can help you roll that into physical gold, not a stock, not an ETF, not a mutual fund, actual gold and silver, platinum, palladium. We have all those 4 items eligible. The client owns it. It's theirs. We're just helping them. We just broker and help them move money over. But yeah, ultimately they can just give us a call, and we have a full staff here. We do all the paperwork. It's usually takes anywhere from 6 to 8 business days from start to finish to do it. And I think people, once they do it, they feel a lot better because they're concerned about the stock market. And once they realize how easy it is with us, they realize that it was something that was long overdue. They've been thinking about it. And we really do everything for them and, answer questions. We take our time. And I think if anybody calls in, we'd be happy to help them, walk them through the process, explain the process, and really answer any questions that they may have.
Folks, Colin Plume's with us, and it's Noble Gold Investments. Go to the website at www.noblegoldinvestments.com. That's noblegoldinvestments.com, or call the number, and that's 877-646-5347. That's 877-646-5347, and give them a call and tell them your situation, your life situation, where you're at. Let them give you some good sound advice, and they're good people, and that's what's really good about them. We really appreciate what they're doing, a great service for so many of you, and we've heard great reports from those of you who've been watching. And when you do it, tell them Pastor Begley said it was okay to call, and it'd be good, okay? So, Colin, wow, what a discussion. Well, China, if that's their plan to overtake us, we better stay on our toes, right?
Absolutely. Yep. Keep your head on a swivel, Pastor Paul. You know how it goes.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today. This is a great discussion, and appreciate all that you guys do.
Absolutely. Have a great day. Talk to you soon.
All right. Folks, that was Colin Plume, noblegoldinvestments.com. Check them out, and they'll help you with whatever your needs may be in your time of life. One thing's for sure, folks, keep looking to the Lord. Keep your faith strong. Keep looking to Jesus. You know he's coming. We don't know the day nor the hour, but he told us to occupy till he comes. I'll be back a little bit later next time right here on The Coming Apocalypse.